Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the cabin. I'm actually getting ready to work on some slab wood. I'm going to walk down here and show you the garden because it's kind of dying back. We have canned several times off of what it produced, and I'm thinking that next year, since the family is wanting to have like a community garden, that I'm going to have to find some more area to work up, since I've got a lot of acreage out here where we can share next year in, like I said, a community garden. My daughter does grow some tomatoes in her backyard and subdivision, but there's just not enough room to put up green beans and potatoes and tomatoes and things of that nature, which she had a really good time this year in my garden. Anyway, I thought I would take you down here and show you what the garden looks like now. What you can see right here is the lettuce that is continuing to go to seed. I've already cut some off and kind of dried it out, but I'm going to have to come down here and cut some more. Behind that, the beans, they're still producing, so we're going to have to come back down here and pick them again in a few days. Pepper plants, they're still doing good back here. We did pick them off, but as you can see, we've still got peppers growing right here, over here. More banana peppers coming on. Unreal. And so were these bell peppers. I really like the red and the yellow, and we did some cooking one day and combine that with the onions, and I'll tell you what, it was really good. I'm going to show you something else that's growing in the garden here. Now, I'm not sure, I don't like mushrooms, but if you were someone that liked mushrooms, I wonder if you could eat those. The potatoes, as you can see, they're dying back, so I will dig those as soon as those vines right here, as soon as they turn brown. I thought I would show you some of those strawberry plants that I had planted. They have really taken deep root, and I'm happy about that because hopefully next year we'll have some blackberries and strawberries. We've still got some tomatoes right here. As you can see, I'll tell you what, we have canned a bunch of those tomatoes. I've got a few heads of cabbage left. Then the cabbage that I actually had already harvested, I cut the top of the stalk in an X, and this is what happens. You get more cabbage coming back. So I've still yet to dig up the onions, the cucumbers. They're actually dying back, but I'll get to those onions pretty soon. Get those dried out. I don't know if you could see the watermelon vines beside the strawberries that I showed you. They haven't yet produced small or any type of fruit that I can see, but they are growing. They are now probably 8 to 10 feet long, so I'm hoping that pretty soon we get some sort of fruit showing up, and maybe we'll get a watermelon before the season's over with. You know, back when we first started the homestead and we decided to go ahead and film it and put it on YouTube, I had no idea that I would actually build this many buildings. As I got to living up here, well, actually as I got to building and then staying up here, spending more and more time, it just became apparent that I needed this and I needed that and so forth if I wanted to become more self-reliant. So things kind of evolved to where they were. But the reason I'm saying that is that Kubota tractor that I had purchased, I thought would be sufficient for the needs that I had. But the more I built, the bigger logs that I cut, it just became apparent over time that it was just a little bit too light duty for what I needed. Although, I'll tell you, it did a lot of work. I have built everything up here at the Outpost with that L3901 Kubota tractor, and I will tell you this, I never had one issue out of it, other than the fact that, like I said, it became apparent that it was too small to lift the logs. But I will tell you this, I've had this tractor here, this new TYM T574, for about 2 weeks now, and I have zero complaints about it. It is a beast as far as being able to lift the logs. I can go down there and I can rearrange anything that I've got with hardly any effort from this tractor at all. It lifts, like I said before in the review that I did, 2,700 pounds at full height, and I don't have any logs that weigh that because I'm only cutting 10, 12, 14, and 16 footers, and this tractor is able to handle that really easily. And the aid of this new grapple on the front allows me to carry it in the sawmill and actually set it down very lightly, and I don't have to worry about anything rolling off the forks and slamming on the bunks. So I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a workhorse of a tractor and you need some power to be able to lift and you need power to be able to pull, with all the upgraded amenities that they have for tractors, like cabs with heat and air and stereo and Bluetooth and hydrostat. Now, of course, this one I wanted gears, so I got the manual shift because of living up in the mountains right here. I kind of figured that it might be harder on the transmission later, so I decided to go ahead and stick with what I always use, which is a manual gear-driven vehicle. So I tell you what, like I said, I could highly recommend at least 55 horse or larger, depending on the needs that you have. But I don't think if I ever, and I don't think I will, but if I ever have to buy another tractor, it's going to be at least 55 horse or more, because just having a manual sawmill and having the ability to cut lumber to build whatever I need up here, which I call this property up here in the woodland that I have, I call it Milo's. The ability to go out into Milo's and cut down a tree, harvest a tree, and be able to buck it up on the sawmill for whatever needs that I have, you need some power. So I could highly recommend the TYM T574 with just what little time that I've had, and I think that it would be sufficient for a small farm to be able to cover any needs that you might have. And no, this is not a sponsored video by TYM by any means, just wanting to give you straight from the heart the new addition to the homestead up here. We are really happy with this purchase. I just wish that years ago I would have known what I was going to be doing in the future and have bought this. Of course, it was a good thing that I purchased that Kubota, because the resale value of it and the equity I had built up allowed me to be able to get this with just a little bit more per month. But yeah, anyway, we're really happy about Big John, our new addition to the homestead. I mentioned earlier that I was going to do some slab work, and that is to cover the outside of the smokehouse here. But I was able to basically get all the woodwork done, with the exception of the trim that goes around, the black paper, my metal stripping, and then of course the metal. And then I'll have to build a door. But it's going to look still different yet when I get it done, but I think that it turned out wonky like everything else that I built up here. Just a little vision of something that I had in mind to, like I said, build as a smokehouse. So yeah, I will be burning this. I have to burn it lightly because poplar burns really easy, and it would primarily turn black, and I don't want that color. I just kind of want it. Now, the wood grain is not going to pop out like it does on the pine, but it will look good, especially when it will kind of give me a background when I put the slabs up, because they'll be separated because they actually go over the seams. So it will kind of give me a background, like I said, when I burn the siding and put it on here for the battens. I think it's really going to look cool. And of course I'll put the yellow tin on here like I have, or not the yellow, but the tan tin on here like I did everything else, because it kind of helps to keep the heat down. Now, I've had a lot of people say, like for example, how far do you know to put the smokehouse from the fire pit? I don't know. All I know is I need to be able to vent smoke up to the smokehouse. Now, I would think that the farther away the better, because the smoke is actually what cures the meat and it's not the heat. So I want less heat up here. We do want it, I think, around 150 degrees or something like that, but primarily it's the smoke that cures the meat. Now, it will cool off as it travels through the ground, and then I heard some people say that they have to be so high, but it's not going to be airtight, because we do want any heat that might get in there to be able to escape. So I've got a piece of barbecue pit that I'm actually going to cut a hole in here and mount in. I'll have the ability to regulate the output on there, so hopefully I can keep a temperature kind of at a steady level. I'll probably install a thermostat somewhere that actually goes through the wall. That way I can be able to monitor it from the outside. And I have got along the side, since I angled the walls out, I'm going to have the ability to hang meat on each side on the inside without it hopefully touching the walls. It depends. It's going to depend on the length of the meat. But then probably in the back I will go ahead and set areas for 2 trays back in there where I can actually lay strips if I want to make jerky, or any other type of strip type meat, fish, anything like that that I might want to smoke in there. So it's coming along slow but sure. I've still got several months left in the year before we would actually be harvesting the hog, and I would assume that I have plenty of time to get this done. But yeah, there's still quite a bit to do to this before it's actually complete. So y'all be sure and stay tuned for that video series on working on the smokehouse. I tell you what, if you don't believe that poplar trees, and I'm talking about the tulip poplar, if you don't believe that they grow fast, check this out. I cut this stump off a year ago when I was building this chicken pen, and this thing has already exceeded the height of me, basically. But yeah, there's several shoots. I'm going to have to cut it down again, and then I'll probably have to put some poison on it, because I don't want this tree growing back up here and causing issues about falling on the chicken house. But yeah, this is how fast these poplar trees actually grow. Well, I thought I'd answer a few questions here. Someone says congratulations on the new tractor. He's also got a standard L series, which that is the Kubota. And while it's an excellent machine, I also find that I could use more loader capacity to help me clear the trees on the property. I looked at a T494, and man, it's impressive. I just need a dealer to be somewhat near me in central Virginia. I'll tell you what, guys, like I have said on the review and just a while ago, we are really excited and proud to have that new TYM, because it has the horsepower plus all the other features that come with it. I now have the third function on the front end. I've got 2 sets on the rear to be able to hook up anything that I need back there, and I mean, it's a real tractor. Someone says Big John, love it. Yeah, we kind of like that name too. It just, I don't know, somehow or another, the first or second day we had it here, it acquired that name. But anyway, it's a real hoss, and I'll tell you what, there's lots of power there. And my friend Nathan from Out of the Woods goes, nice purchase. Of course, he's the one that actually sold me, I think, because when I went up there to do that review at Out of the Woods, he let me climb in his 574. I'll tell you what, I just knew I was going to have that tractor someday, and it wasn't, what, 6 weeks later I had it. So thanks, Nathan, for the tip. And I'll tell you what, folks, they're really price competitive. So yeah, he's just joking, nice purchase, but he's also serious at the same time. Someone also put in here, we have 3 thornless blackberry plants cultured. My wife made jelly out of them and were really good. I'm looking forward to next year. Now, I do have some blackberries that actually it did produce, and so I'm not sure how many I'm going to get, but I'm certainly going to pick them and taste them. But I'm looking forward to really next year when we have quite a few of them, and hopefully I can get some more sets and continue that string all the way down to the outdoor toilet. Here's another comment. It's rare to find someone that prefers Miracle Whip over regular mayo. To me, mayo just doesn't have a taste. Where the Miracle Whip adds a little twang, I guess you could say, but I much prefer it on tuna fish or like a BLT, but actually most of the time I'll put mustard on my BLT. I know people that put mayo on hot dogs. I don't believe I could handle that, because I wouldn't even put Miracle Whip on my, as much as I like it, on my hot dog. I don't do that on hamburgers either. I use mustard. So there's a few things that I would put the Miracle Whip on. One of them is tuna fish or a ham sandwich, possibly a bologna sandwich. And the only way that I've been able to eat mayo is with a tomato added on there at some places that didn't have Miracle Whip, to kind of hide that taste, you know. Anyway, I'm just saying, you know, everybody to their own, right? Everybody has a different taste, and mine just happens to be Miracle Whip as opposed to mayo. Now, it doesn't make any difference what kind it is. It could be JFG, it could be Hellman's, it could be any of those other brands out there, because over the course of my life, I've tried several of them, and none of them appeal to me. You know, a lot of the other comments I had was about the garden, and this year I watered it every evening as the sun was going down, and it took off, and it really did produce. There was a couple of issues that I had. The broccoli never produced. It actually turned to seed. I don't know what I may have done wrong this year. The other thing too is, I think the potatoes, like I'd mentioned, it's hard to hill them when you're already on a hill. So next year I'll change that up and be able to either make something flat that I can put the potatoes in a hill. That way, as they continue to grow, I can bank more dirt up around them, and possibly they take root and produce more potatoes. Or I'll grow them inside of the sacks or the buckets. I'm interested in trying that method. So that's something that I may do to help conserve space, because I've been saving all of the feed bags, and I've got several pails, but the feed bags are really cheap. So I should be able to fill those up with dirt if I choose to use those, and just take my knife and just punch holes in the side. That way, when I do water it, it can drain out. But I might do that to actually conserve space, because I could actually set those sacks, you know, around the fence line and not really use up any more space. They just need to be filled with dirt, right? But yeah, the garden produced quite a bit. Jennifer canned quite a bit. We've still got some more canning to do before everything dies out. And then the vines and everything that are left are going to go to the chickens and the hog to be able to supply them, instead of that going to waste there. So everything in the garden, it was able to be used in some form or manner. But really excited about having all that canned this winter that I didn't have last year, and looking forward to planting next year as well, and having produce, which hopefully I think I'm going to try to increase the size twice as much as what I have here, since we may do the community garden within the family. But they are going to have to promise to come out here and help me work it. I know that they may not be able to help me water it, because, you know, they do have jobs, but on the weekends they can come out and help me hoe and weed and things of that nature, right? Right. But yeah, just the ability to have that much space to be able to plant what you need. This has kind of been a little bit of an experiment to find out, you know, how much am I going to need to last me through the winter. But I've got several jars that Jennifer canned in there, and it's going to be really nice to, like I said, look forward to cooking with that over the winter. But yeah, if you haven't had a chance to go see that tractor review, be sure and go check that out. Last week was the video that I uploaded where I did the review from front to back. It is a really nice tractor and has lots of amenities on it. Guys, we appreciate you watching. Thanks for stopping by. We hope each and every one of you have a fantastic day. Y'all take care. We look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.